All right, hey guys, continuing our look here at section 6.1. We've been solving systems of linear equations. Today we're going to take a look at some applications to those, story problems, I guess, and also how we might use technology to help us in this. I'm not going to require the use of technology, but I think for some of these, I want to make it an option for you. So I got just a couple problems here that we're going to work through. And then an assignment here at the end. So let's take a look at these two, and we're going to solve them with and without technology. And then, like I said, I'll leave that up to you if you want to make use of that technology. So it says, suppose that upon graduation, you're offered a job selling devices to labs studying DNA. This first company, the Beckman Coulter Company, offers you an annual base salary of $20,000 plus 5% commission of your total sales. The other company, the MJ Research Corporation, gives you $30,000, but they're only giving you 3% commission. So what would your total sales have to be to make the Beckman Coulter job the better offer? All right. So again, we're talking about a system of linear equations here. So we're looking at two different equations, and when we're talking about linear equations, we've got two unknowns here. So don't try to limit yourself to one unknown. We've got two things we don't know. And the first thing we don't know is we don't know what our total sales are going to be. And the other thing is we don't know what our total salary is going to be. All right. So there's two things that we don't that we don't know here. So two different equations here coming from you might guess here the two different companies. So let's take a look at this one. It says the Beckman Coulter Company offers you a job with an annual salary of $20,000. So it says, hey, your total salary Y is going to be $20,000 plus 5% of your total sales. I'll define 5% of a number, we multiply it by 500. So this is an equation that would give you your total salary here for Beckman Coulter. Now the second offer, the MJ Research, says, hey, we'll give you your total salary is going to be $30,000 plus a 3% commission. All right. So the first thing here, let's look at how we might use technology to do this, and then we'll come back and we'll solve it without technology, and I'll let you decide, which way you want to do. So these are both linear equations, and they're both written with y by itself here. So I can enter that into my calculator. Okay. Now the first thing, just make sure that your plots are turned off. If you are still have them turned on, maybe from the last chapter here. And just to turn those off if they're highlighted like that. Once you hit y equals, you get this screen and you see that that's highlighted. Just scroll up until it's flashing, hit enter, and then scroll back down, and just make sure all those are turned off, because we don't want to graph any of those scatter plots that we did the last time. So I'm just going to type these two in. All right, 20,000 plus 500ths x. And then the other one is 30,000 plus 3%, or plus 300ths x. Okay. Now, if I just graph this, as it is, if I'm on my standard window from 10 to negative 10, I'm not going to see anything, because if you look at this, we're looking at a y-intercept of 20,000. And here a y-intercept of 30,000. Okay, so that's the first thing that I notice is I'm going to have to play around with the window a little bit. So I go to window, and I'm not sure about my x's right now, so I'm going to come back to that. But I know my y, there's no reason to look clear down to negative 10. I know I've got a y-intercept of 20,000. I'm going to go just a little bit below that. I'm going to put my y-min at 15,000. And my x max, I know my other one's at 30,000. So I'm going to go just a little bit above that. And I'm going to put 35,000. Okay, and now if I graph this, it should look slightly different. Okay, so there's the first line and there's the second line, and they almost look parallel. All right, but we know this one. If you're making 5%, it's eventually going to catch up. So I know that bottom line is just a little bit steeper. It has a slope of of 500ths, whereas this one has a slope of 300ths. So what that says to me is, as we're looking at this graph, we're probably just not looking enough at our X's, because if you think about it, this is making $10 in sales. All right, hopefully we make a little more, a little better sales than that. So let's go back to our window, and I'm going to go through, the process that I would do. The X min is okay at -10, but let's say, let's do $10,000 worth of sales. Okay. See if that changes things. All right, so I graph that, and I start to see a little bit of an increase, and all right, they're maybe getting a little closer, but it looks like we haven't gone far enough yet. So I'm going to go back to my window. Instead of 10,000, let's do 100,000. So what if I do 100,000 in sales? And now I graph it. Oh, now I can see a definite increase there. All right, that's starting to look better, but there's still, I still haven't gone far enough. So let's go to 200,000. And again, some of this is just some guess and check and play around with it until until you get it. So there's 200,000. All right, that's still not there. So let's and probably because I did 20,000, not 200,000. So this time let's actually do 200,000. All right, see if that looks any better. Okay, good. All right. Oh, shoot. Okay. All right. So now, and I can kind of see, all right, I can see they're going to meet. Okay. Maybe out here somewhere. So let's increase it again, and, maybe go to 300 and make sure I do 300,000 this time and not just 30,000. Let's graph that. All right. So that line is heading up there. All right. Now I can see, hey, wait a minute. All right. Now I'm not high enough here. So I got to increase my Y. So let me go to my Y. Whoops. Let me go to window. And instead of 35,000, let me bump that up to 40,000. Whoops, that's not. I don't want to mess with my scale here. Let's put that at 1. All right, not 10, but 1. All right, and let's do a Y max of 40,000. Okay, and now let's graph it and see here. See if it looks any better. Again, we're looking for where these are going to cross. Again, think about what's happening. This is the first job offer. Again, started out lower, but I'm making more money because they were giving me a better commission. This one started off higher, and we're looking at, hey, where are they going to cross? All right, so I still haven't got there yet with my X's. So let's go to window, and let's go to 400,000. 400,000. Okay, and graph it again. All right, ooh, not quite there. I'm going to increase both my X and my Y this time, okay? Because I can see it. I'm probably going to have to do both of them. So let's do 500,000, okay? And then I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to make that 50,000. And now let me graph it. Okay, not quite there yet. All right, looks like I just didn't go high enough with my Y's. Looks like my X's are okay, but my Y's aren't going to kind of make it. So let's go down there, and let's go. That's good. I changed my Y scale again. Let's put a Y scale at 1, and let's go here. Let's go to 50,000. Okay, and finally, good. I can see. All right, hey, I can see they meet. And now here's the nice thing. Once you've got that graph done, now that we've got the technology there showing us the picture, we can actually calculate that. So right above the trace menu is my calculate. So I hit second trace, and you notice the fifth selection down there is intersect. So you can either scroll down to 5, or I'm just going to hit the number 5. And you notice there it says first curve, okay? And the cursor is blinking on our first line. So I just hit enter. Second curve, and it's on our second line there. If you've only got 2 lines, that you really don't need to worry about this. It's going to say take a guess, which really wants you to move that cursor close. We really don't need to do that. It'll find that intersection, and there's the intersection. At 500,000 for X, you'd be making 45,000. Okay, so what that tells us here, the intersection here was at 500,000, comma 45,000. Probably shouldn't include that comma there because it's going to mess up my order pair. So it says, hey, if I make $500,000 in sales, I'm going to be making the same amount of money for both of these. I'm going to be making $45,000. All right, so what would the total sales have to be? 500,000. Okay. Now that's using technology. Let me just show you real quick, how to do this without technology. And like I said, some of you might find this easier. Some of you might just say, let me go to my graphing calculator. This, we could either solve this with elimination. We can actually solve this with substitution. I'm going to go ahead and do elimination. All right. Just because, actually, yeah, I'm going to subtract these two, okay, because I've got my coefficients that are the same there. So if I subtract those two, that would give me 0 equals, and now 20,000 minus 30,000 is negative 10,000 plus, and if I subtract those two, 200ths x. And now you notice I get an equation with only x, so I can solve that. I can add 10,000 to both sides, and I get 10,000 equals 200ths x, and divide that by 200ths on both sides, and guess what I get? I get 500,000. All right, which is exactly what the graph showed us. But this again is just a non-technological, not using technology to do that, but using that elimination method. Okay, so again, whatever. Sometimes playing around with that window kind of steers people away from the technology way, but there are some times where that technology way is if you can get that graph right away, it'll calculate that intersection. Okay. All right. One more question. Let's look on the back here. So it says the math club's having a party and would like to make sandwiches for the new members. They've already got bread and condiments, but they asked Carter to buy 5 pounds of turkey. Sydney gives Carter 37 bucks and tells him to spend it all. He gets to Community Market and he has a choice of 2 different types of turkey: Boar's Head, which is $8 a pound, and the store brand, which is $7. How much should he get? So he has to spend his entire 37 bucks, and he wants to end up with exactly 5 pounds. Well, again, we've got two unknowns here. All right, I'm going to call them X and Y. And X is going to be the Boar's Head, all right, brand of turkey, and Y is the store brand. Okay. All right, so I've got 2 unknowns. I've got to have 2 equations. So let's see. How much he wants to spend? 37 bucks. Well, where's that coming from? Well, $8 per pound for Boar's Head and $7 per pound for the store brand to spend exactly 37. And then he also wants to get exactly 5 pounds. All right, and these were both pounds up here. I probably should label that. So whatever X plus Y is has to equal 5. How much ever he gets here plus whatever he gets of the store brand has to equal 5 pounds. Now again, I can solve this with technology. Okay. Now here's the only drawback with this. To do your graphing calculator, you've got to get Y by itself. All right, let me do that real quick. I can do that with this one pretty quickly. So I subtract X on both sides and I get Y equals 5 minus X. And up here, if I get Y by itself, I'm just going to recopy this. 8X plus 7Y equals 37. So I subtract 8X on both sides. I get 7Y equals 37 minus 8X. And then I divide by 7 on both sides. I get Y equals, and I'm just going to leave it like this, 37 minus 8X over 7. Okay, so I got Y by itself. So now if I go here, I go to my Y equals. I clear both of those other ones off. Okay, clear both of those off. And I'm going to type both these in. All right, Y equals 5 minus X. It doesn't matter which one you do first. I'm just going to do that one first. And here on this one, I want to subtract those first and then divide. So I want to make sure that I put that in parentheses when I do it here. So I do 37 minus 8X and then divide by 7. Now, I don't want to just hit graph here because remember, this is X and Y's are, hundreds of thousands and 10 of thousands. We don't want to do that. So I'm going to go back to where I started. I'm going to hit window and not window. I'm going to hit zoom, sorry. And number 6 there takes me to that negative 10 to 10. And there's my first graph and there's my second graph. I can see my intersection. I don't have to play around with the window at all. Okay. So I go to second, calc. Number 5 is my intersection, so I can either scroll down to 5 or just hit 5. First curve, yep, it's on. I've only got 2 curves. So first curve, second curve, I hit enter again. Take a guess. I don't think so. There we go. It says this is going to intersect when x is 2 and y is 3. So these two are going to intersect at the point 2 comma 3, which means Carter should get 2 pounds of the boar's head and 3 pounds of the store brand. Okay. Now, just real quickly, just to show you how to solve this without technology. Again, I'm going to do this one by substitution because I already got y by itself. So I'm going to take that y and I'm going to substitute it in right there. So that becomes 8x plus 7 times 5 minus x equals 37. And now I can solve this equation here for x. I distribute. I get 8x plus 35 minus 7x equals 37. That's 1x plus 35 equals 37. And I think you can see if I subtract 35 on both sides, I get x equals 2, which is exactly what we got here. And then y would be 5 minus 2, y would be 3. I get the same solution. Again, I'll leave it to you to decide, which one you find easier, using the technology or not. Okay, but again, just using this system of equations to solve application type problems, to solve some story problems. Okay, so take a look at those 5 problems there. All right. 570 on 570 and 571. I'll get those answers posted shortly for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Take care, guys.